Well, hello, everybody. This is your favorite person on the internet. This is Tom from Park Right Here. Just another reminder, Christina is still dealing with some issues with her family. Everything is fine, but just keep her in your thoughts, and she'll be with us as soon as possible. In the meantime, I had the pleasure about a month ago to go to a local Parkinson's. I got to say, pleasure to go to a local Parkinson's symposium. I didn't know who was going to be there, and then the doctor, Dr. Martello. By the way, if you're in the northern Delaware area, you got to check out Dr. Justin Martello. That's a plug. He's not my doctor, but I really like him. He introduced one of his patients, a young lady named, I'm going to say young because I'm trying to be nice, a young lady named Christina, who, to my amazement, stood up there and just had a conversation with us. And then she did something that I've never really seen done before in front of a live audience. She turned her DBS off. And so what was really amazing is in front of this entire group of 300 strangers, she had the strength to stand up in front of this group and to turn her DBS off. At that moment, I said, I need to meet this person. This is the kind of person I need to associate myself with. So I asked her, would you like to do my podcast? Not knowing who I am or what the podcast is, she said, of course I would. So here we are today. We took a leap of faith. We're here together live for the first time. We've talked on the phone. But I want to introduce the world to Christina. So, Christina, why don't you start? Tell us your story and tell us whatever you want to say.
I am 53. I've had Parkinson's for right at 15 years. It started when I was 35.
Wow.
I developed epilepsy. So I was having these grand mal seizures while I sleep. And I thought I had a stroke during a seizure, which had eliminated my right hand side. And so I was going to the doctors trying to get help for the supposed stroke because my right side just never recovered. And they're like, they did the MRIs, the CAT scans, all the things that they do. And they're like, you didn't have a stroke. Something else is wrong. So then I went through physical therapy because my handwriting had become really like microscopic.
Oh.
I couldn't write big if I tried. My right leg was dragging, my right arm wasn't swinging, and it was getting just worse and worse as the months kept going by. My sleep was disrupted. I mean, all these different things. And I was at the University of Iowa, and they got me into their movement disorder clinic within weeks after seeing a neurologist. And I remember the doctor's name. But this doctor that was there at the time, who's no longer at the University of Iowa, just goes, you have Parkinson's. I was 38, and I didn't hear a thing he said after that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I have no idea what he said, but he never even made eye contact. He's making notes, and he's like, you have Parkinson's disease. And he changed my life that day.
Mine was somewhat similar. I went to the hospital because my primary care said go to the hospital. They can run all these tests that I can't test. So they referred me to a neurologist. And I remember at one point she said, I think you have Parkinson's, come back in 30 days. She said a few more words than yours did, but it was the same essence. I had no idea what to do after that.
No, he gave me Mirapex. He goes, watch out for sexual addiction. I'll see you in 6 months.
Oh, I should have known you then.
Yeah, I know, right? I could have what?
By the way, that's the dopamine speaking.
Yeah. And I went on my lunch break. I went back to work and I was just completely numb. Somebody came up and they go, what'd they tell you? And I wrote it down. And my friend started crying. And I'm like going, I don't even know what to feel.
Okay. So I know you have a good sense of humor. Did you write down the sexual addiction, or did you write down Mirapex or Parkinson's?
I wrote down Parkinson's.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But so then I went back to a neurologist in Cedar Rapids who says, you don't have Parkinson's. Took it off my chart. Cortical basal degeneration, focal torsion dystonia, essential tremor. He listed all these different things on my chart. I've been diagnosed with so many things, it's insane. So I go, I want to go to Mayo Clinic and see what was, I want to be seen by them, because if it's not Parkinson's, we know it's any of these things, I want to know what's going on. I still have a kid to raise. I was a single parent of my last child yet. So here I'm sitting with an 8-year-old at home, she might have been 9 by then. Mayo Clinic couldn't get me in quick enough, so I went to Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic had like a 6-month wait, and I'm like going, I don't have 6 months. I need to go
Right.
now. So I went up to Cleveland Clinic, and this doctor's retired. His name was Patrick Sweeney, and he was convinced it was psychosomatic.
Oh, God.
And I'm like going, no, it's not. Well, have you ever dealt with stress in your life? I go, of course, everyone has, but not enough to be debilitating. And he's like, no, I think it's psychosomatic. So then I finally, Mayo Clinic calls. I get into Mayo Clinic months later. And they go, I see the Dr. Sweeney thinks it's psychosomatic. And I go, that's not right. I can tell you it's not right. I feel it's, that's not what it is. And I went to Mayo Clinic every 6 months for like 3 years. And then they tried to get the DAT scan approved through my insurance, and they couldn't. But they're going, I think it's psychosomatic. And here I'm taking Cinnamate. Cinnamate's working. I didn't stay on Maripix very long because it made me very sick to my stomach.
Right.
So then I was on Cinnamate, and I was in Cinnamate at this point for like 5 years, and it's working. And they're still going, I think it's psychosomatic because Dr. Sweeney said it was. Then I went to Northwestern University in Chicago. I don't remember her name. It's Dr. Tanya something. She goes, you're already seeing Dr. Matsumoto at Mayo Clinic. You've seen Dr. Patrick Sweeney. You've seen all these people, and they say it's psychosomatic. It must be psychosomatic. She didn't even test me. So I'm getting like to the point now. I went back to the University of Iowa because Mayo Clinic said there's nothing more we can do for you because we can't get the DAT scan approved through your insurance. Northwestern University said you already have better doctors than us. There's nothing more we can do for you. Patrick Sweeney had retired, and I didn't want to drive all the way to Cleveland again. And it was my doctor in Cedar Rapids was telling me, we'll find out at your autopsy. Go live your life. We'll find out at your autopsy. He told me that every 6 months for years.
God.
But so then the University of Iowa agreed to see me, and I seen his name is very difficult to pronounce, so we'll skip it anyways because I don't want to bash anybody. But he goes, I'm 75% sure it's psychosomatic, but there's a little bit of me that thinks that it might be Parkinson's. So he got the DAT scan approved through my insurance company.
Oh, wow.
And we did the DAT scan. He goes, oh, you have Parkinson's. I'm like going, I know.
I've been trying to tell you this for 6 years.
The drugs work. What else could it be? What else do you use Cinnamate for? How can I walk when I take Cinnamate and I don't walk when I don't?
You know, you make an interesting point. I can give you a jar of Cinnamate that probably costs $3 or $4, or I can give you a $15,000 DAT scan, and both of them will basically tell you the same thing.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Because you can look at a DAT scan, you can't see what stage somebody's in or anything else like that. It's just another way to eliminate the
other
essential
possibilities.
tremor, the cortical basal degeneration, the focal torsion dystonia, all the different things. I can't remember. There's 5 or 6 different diagnoses that I went through. Dr. Pedro Gonzalez actually had it right the first time.
You know, it was funny. I was initially diagnosed as having essential tremor and a pinched nerve. So I started going to physical therapy. And I'm talking to a physical therapist, like, what I do, I'm a logical person. How can I have essential tremors and a pinched nerve exactly at the same time? What could possibly cause 2 separate things like that at the same time? And she didn't have an answer. That's when I started seeing the neurologist, who finally, after a couple months, said, I think you have Parkinson's, come back in 30 days.
I was diagnosed with epilepsy, Parkinson's, and degenerative disc disease all within a very short period of time.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like I should implode at some point.
I hate to see your
if I ever go, it's going to be spontaneous combustion. That is the only way I want to go.
Ooh, so not that way, but when I'm dead, and they prove I'm dead, I want to have a Viking funeral. I want to just get on a boat, fill it up with logs and gasoline, push me out, light it up, and let me go. We got to make sure I'm dead.
Fireworks. Put fireworks in it.
Fireworks would be cool too. But again, I have to be dead.
Yeah, I told my girls each have different ideas of what they're going to. One wants to plant me. You can get your ashes mixed in and be a part of a tree.
Right.
So you can be a tree, which I'm a tree now.
Yeah, are you a willow tree or are you an oak tree? I'm a willow tree. I bend.
Oh, no, I go oak.
Okay, oak, solid, strong. I like that.
Oh no, I just don't move.
Yeah.
Well, like I have the whole akinetic rigid. So if I have to be pretty stressed to get a tremor. And
Okay.
then it's usually internal. It's usually my diaphragm that will start giving me a tremor first, which is the funkiest feeling.
Hmm. Kind of like you're gargling.
No, it's like you are at the top of a roller coaster and you're just about ready to go down and your stomach like flip, flip,
Oh, yeah,
flip,
yeah,
flip,
yeah,
flip.
yeah. That's why I
Yeah,
don't do
and you're like
vortex.
going, and that's what my diaphragm is doing is messes with your breath and stuff, but you get used to it.
Okay.
But my other daughter wants to turn me into jewelry. And I said, I'll be done with my body at that point. You guys do what you want to do.
Well, the other thing is, I grew up in Chicago as a Cubs fan, so I would love to be cremated and take someone sneak into not sneak in, but take me into the ballpark in a little Ziploc baggie. And if you know Wrigley Field, the back
Yep.
wall has ivy. Just basically empty me into the ivy so I can live the rest of my life in Wrigley Field forever.
Oh, there you go.
I think that'd be very cool. Either that or Viking funeral.
I actually wanted them to take me to the cliff where Thelma and Louise drove off. I said, shoot me off that, just shoot me off
Now,
that cliff.
is that as in your whole body when you're dead, or when if you get cremated, then they shoot
Oh
out the
no,
ashes?
cremate me.
Okay, but
Cremate
not
me.
the whole, not just shoot at the body out of a cannon.
Nope. Oh no, that'd be cool.
That
Put
would be
me,
cool.
yeah, dude. I wonder what kind of permits you need for that.
I think you need one more for the cannon than the actual shooting.
Yeah, they don't have to tell them that there's a body stuck in there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh,
Yeah, I'm starting to get plans.
so from that point now, you're what? You're probably in your mid 40s. Is that about right?
That happened in 2015. So I was 45. The
Okay.
first time I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, I was 38. And then that lasted about 6 months. The Mirapex was making me very, very sick. And I had lost like 30 pounds already. And I wanted to try the Cinnamate because it's the gold standard test. I mean, it still is 15 years later. It was back then, it is now.
Well, they call it the
So
gold standard.
he wouldn't give me the Cinnamate. The original doctor would not give me Cinnamate. He goes, you can only take it for 5 years. It's
Oh,
too early to take it.
I've been taking it
So
for over 8 years.
I've been taking it for 15.
Right.
Well, now I take Rytary, but it's the same. It's
Yeah.
the carbidopa levodopa in a different form. So that's when I got honked off and went back to the neurologist that was treating my epilepsy. And I'm like going, he won't give me the Cinnamate. Will you give me the Cinnamate? And he goes, of course I'll give you the Cinnamate, but you don't have Parkinson's. And that's kind of where it all went haywire. And an unfortunate conversation at Cleveland Clinic led to the psychosomatic, which takes a long time to get off your chart.
Oh, yeah.
They all just look at you like, oh, Munchausen's. No.
So Mirapex is a dopamine agonist, right?
I don't know. I actually don't remember much on
Because
what all the Mirapex stuff. I've been on like 5 or 6 different medications, but Cinnamote's one has stuck.
Because I have I'm on a dopamine. I'm on dopamine. I'm taking the Cinemet and a dopamine agonist, which is Requip, and then
I've been Requip.
I take Atacapone with the carbidopa, and I take Artane for tremors. But my doctor's starting to wean me off the dopamine agonist because it can have negative side effects such as it tickles your pleasure center. You can do compulsive behavior stuff, but one day I see him every 6 months. He goes, well, how any compulsive behavior issues? I said, well, got to be honest with you. Yes. He looked at me, he goes, what happened? I said, well, doc, the other day I went on a buying spree. He goes, what'd you get? I said, 3 pairs of khakis. And he kind of looked at me, he starts to laugh. I said, that's it. That's my buy. That was it. That's my compulsive buying, 3 pairs of khakis. And he just shakes his head. I got a great doctor. I mean, you're lucky. From what I know of Dr. Martello, he seems like a great doctor.
He is. I have to hand it to him. When I got out here, I still was not moving very well. I had the DBS implanted in 2019. Yeah, 2018. Said DBS implant in 2018, and it really didn't make that much of a difference. Not
Oh,
at all.
really?
Yeah. And then I had, like we were speaking of before, I'd gained a lot of weight because I wasn't moving around. I wasn't doing anything. I was medically retired. It was, I did do, no, that was before the DBS. I was going to say I did boxing before, but I was prior to DBS. But I seen Dr. Martello once, the first time I seen him, and he goes, let's make some changes. And so, when they mess with your DBS, you can feel it, or at least I can feel it. I get like fuzzies,
Yeah.
sick to my stomach, and then my brain will feel disconnected a little bit for just a minute or two. But then he ran me through the drunk driving test again, which is what I refer to it.
Hmm.
Tap, yeah,
This,
balance on one
this.
foot, yeah, all that kind of stuff. So, and I could walk better than I had in 5 years in one visit.
Wow, that's great. So he just
Yeah,
that
so
was
then I
just
started
because
getting up and
he
I started,
tweaked the settings on your monitor or your, I guess you call it your
yeah,
computer.
it's the frequency. Oh, he explained it, and it's way beyond my comprehension. I do know that DBS has three, with the wires that go into your brain have three nodes on each wire. I have a bilateral.
Okay.
So on each wire, there are three nodes. They can hit different things.
Three sections of the brain. It's kind of like you've got
Yeah,
Showtime, HBO, and Cinemax.
right. And so then there's individual settings where she's within each one of those nodes and different this and different that and all this other kind of stuff. But um, my neurologist back in Iowa was like, I don't know what you want me to do. There's only three settings. I'm changing what I can. And so I told Dr. Martello, I go, there's only three settings, right? And he's like, no, no, way, way more settings.
Wow.
And so I actually
You
left
got
the
the
office.
premium
I hugged
package.
him. I went, yeah, I gave him a hug and I almost cried. Now I'm, doing really well. I've lost a lot of weight. I lost about 65 pounds so far.
Hmm.
Walk my dog a lot, go to boxing 3 or 4 times a week, and just keep moving.
So 7 years ago, or excuse me, 6 years ago, you had your DBS surgery.
Yes.
And how, over the last 6 years, you said it didn't really make an impact, but what are you doing now for medication, or are you less medication before the DBS, or?
Now I am. Now I just take Rytary.
Oh, really? That's it?
That's it.
That's
I have
great.
Ambrosia.
Yeah,
They
that's the
tried to get me
inhaler.
with, yeah, they tried to get me to take Kimobi, under the tongue thing.
Yeah, that's like one of those
Instantly knocked
melting.
me out.
Okay.
I fell asleep instantly. Tried it twice, and each time it's like, I have to go lay down, and I fell into a deep sleep. I'm like going, well, this would be nice to take before bed, but not during the
Yeah.
day. The inhaler, I love the inhaler. Love the inhaler. Works in about 10 minutes.
Oh, wow. And
And I used inhaling
that's just
powder.
like crushed dopamine or cinnamon that you inhale into your system.
Yeah, it's this little thing. You get like a tube. You drop a
Hmm.
capsule in there, and it pops a hole in the end of it. You push it, and it pops a hole in the end of it. You pull the cap back off and inhale the capsule, basically.
Since the Rotary is like a time delayed capsule, how
Hmm.
often do you take Rotary each day? Is it just once or twice?
4 hours.
Oh, every 4 hours. Okay.
Every 4 hours. But the Ambrosia, what that is good for. Have you ever had a dud dose?
A dead what?
A dud dose?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I've had dud doses before. Like I'll take the pill, and it's like I didn't take it. And so then you're stuck for 4 more hours that you can't take another pill for 4 more hours. But the pill, for some reason, you took it too close to eating protein, or you didn't
Oh,
drink enough
right.
water, or just a freak thing, and it doesn't happen very often. Sometimes I'll burn through my Rytary too quick. They say that you don't really do that, but I beg to differ. And
Well,
I
I
need a
was
little hit from the Ambrosia to get me to the 4-hour mark.
yeah. I recently I was taking 1.5 Cinemeds every 4 hours, like 7, 11, 3, and 7. And I was noticing that, I'm like diagnosed in 2015. So this summer will be like coming up on 8 full years. But I'm starting to have, and I know this, I sometimes I feel bad about because I feel like I should have more Parkinson's, but I'm just about 6 months ago, I started getting my off time. And I'm getting tremors in my left leg and a slight burning sensation in the muscle. So I'm also very concerned about taking too much Cinemet because of dyskinesia. So
Dyskinesia is not bad.
yeah,
I suffer
well,
from a lot of dyskinesias when now that I just had a new DBS stimulator put in November, and now I have a lot more control over it.
who is it? Medtronics or Boston Scientific or
Medtronics.
Medtronics? Okay.
Yes. And I have a lot more control over it, so I can turn it down easier
Mm,
if I start getting dyskinesias because it's too much dopamine.
right.
Sometimes I just let it go and I just sit there and it's only on my right. So it'll be, hey,
You
how
do
are
that at
you
parties?
doing? Huh?
You do that at parties?
No, I always tell them I'm half John Travolta and half sloth. Yeah.
It's cool. I like that a
This
lot.
half is John Travolta, this half is sloth.
That's
Because
funny.
you do Sid the Sloth from Ice Age.
Yeah.
John Sid.
So
But
you're
it only
doing
happens on my
this
right
side's not
side.
moving and this side is doing staying around.
Exactly.
I like that.
Exactly. I still work too. And it's I just do retail part-time. The majority of the reason is because I found that if I'm not required to get out there, I'll hermit.
Yeah, I can see it. I can do that as well.
Yeah. I become not necessarily antisocial, but if I don't leave the four walls of my place, then nobody's breaking down my door either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it's a forced socialization. I keep those skills sharp.
I can see
I'm
that as
I'm
well because I know like at times in my Parkinson's towards the end of the day, I start getting that feeling I just want to be isolated.
yeah. And I know that apathy is a huge um why can't I think of the word?
I think it's something that affects the entire Parkinson's community
Yeah,
greatly.
it's a huge component. It's a very, very huge component of the Parkinson's.
I was talking to
And that is scary because I've been apathetic and it's hard to dig yourself back out of the
yeah,
apathetic stage. And so I'll do whatever I can to make sure that that doesn't creep up on me. I don't like, generally, I'm not, I used to be, but I'm not anymore a really outgoing person. Stuff. It takes a lot of energy to move your body when it doesn't want to move,
sure.
so I don't know. With the Parkinson's, I've been in some pretty dark places and I don't want to go back.
Yeah. I think I try to use humor for the most part.
I
And
do too.
because I figure, and I look at it in the sense that if we can have a conversation, we both start laughing at that moment, whether it's Parkinson's, cancer, or anything, you're not
Hmm.
dealing with the issue at the moment. You're just having fun.
Well, and laughing, I mean, it's such a good chemical releaser too.
Oh yeah,
You can't be pissed off, excuse my French, but you can't be pissed off and laugh. You
yeah, I
can't
agree with you there.
you
I
can't be sad and laugh. I mean, it's a good feeling, and I've always loved to make people laugh.
when I was working, one of the people I supervised said to me once, Why is everybody your best friend?" And I looked at her, I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Is that a problem?" She goes, "Well, everyone's your best friend." I said, "Well, let me put it this way. Why wouldn't everyone be my best friend? Why would I want to treat anybody not like my best friend? Because just from one respect, I'd rather deal with friendly people. But I said, on a sort of a selfish note, I'm in sales management. It's much easier to deal with friends than it is
Uh,
to deal with enemies. So there's a certain like ulterior motive of making you my best friend. But at the same point, why would I not want to be friends with you?
Well, exactly. What are they, what's the opposite of that? Enemy. Who needs more enemies?
It's like when I saw you speak and I had said to myself, I've got to meet this person. So I mean, that's the thing that I like about my personality is I can just walk up to somebody and start a
Mhm.
conversation with anybody. And
Yeah.
I like that about myself. It makes it easier to interact with people and just to engage with people.
Well, the speech is that I shot a commercial with Dr. Martello, which is only on Facebook for a day,
Is that
which
the
is,
boxing one? I saw you doing something with boxing.
yes. Yeah, it was from Christiana Care.
Okay.
And so we were talking in the parking lot about how people don't know how to respond when you're out and you say, "Oh, I have Parkinson's," and they go, "Oh my gosh, you look great," and they get
Yeah.
mad and they go, "Well, that's easy. That's not on the public. That's on the person."
Right.
And so I started talking to him about my perspective and stuff. He's like, "Will you do that on stage?" Because I think it's something everybody needs to hear, but they're not. I mean, I could say it, but I'm a doctor. You have Parkinson's. It'll mean more coming from you. And I go, "Sure."
Yeah.
And I'm like going, "Hey, you want to do something fun? Let's turn off my DBS."
Yeah. There you go.
And he's like, "I wouldn't do that to you." He was so concerned about what it would do to me. And I'm like going, "Yeah, but I want to show him it's not only for tremors.
Right.
This treats the akinetic rigid syndrome, part of the Parkinson's too. Because if you turn it off, my kids always joke, we'll just turn off your stimulator and you'll be right where we left you.
So, did you know Latin before you had Parkinson's? Because now you have all these words that have probably Latin roots in them.
No, I took a medical assistant. I was a medical assistant for,
Okay.
I think, 6 weeks. But I went to school to do it. So I was in school for 2 years, and most medical terms come from Latin.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot of different things there. But
Well, I've also learned that my brain is wired such that and this is sometimes, it doesn't get me in trouble, but I sometimes people think I'm not really paying attention, but I'm listening, but my brain is like taking all this information and filing it away in certain places. And then the hard drive I think, is constantly spinning. And suddenly out of nowhere, I make connections to things that separately aren't really funny, but when you put them together, I think they're humorous. And that's what gets me in trouble at times. Because like most people with Parkinson's, I have that foot in the mouth syndrome.
I don't think that's part of Parkinson's. I think that's part of a very intelligent and very fast brain, because much like you, we speak before we can think,
Right.
before our filters kick in.
Well,
I end up being freaking hilarious sometimes.
Well, someone once asked me that we volunteered every year to Davis Finney. They have this symposium. We go meet together because there's like 120 ambassadors with Davis Finney, and we just go on. We try to help people with Parkinson's, do support groups, etc. But we try to get together once a year, and it was really interesting because this is the first time you got to meet some of these people. You've only met them on Zoom calls. But I had asked if I could participate, and they were looking for volunteers to do like little 1 hour speak sessions. I said, yeah. I said, I'd love to hear. I said, here's a topic that I'd like to talk about. I was an economics major. And this may sound a little crazy, but I wanted to help people how to live a better life through basic economic theories. And this is the geek in me. And to me, I remember, well, first she goes, how long can you speak for? I said, well, how much time do I have? Because you just tell me the amount of time and I'll fill
Right.
the void. I said, it's harder if you give me 15 minutes because then I really have to think about what I'm going to say. But if you give me an hour or so, I can just have a broad outline and just start filling in the gaps. But I said, there's two concepts as an economist that I look at. First, you want to maximize. I said, economics is the allocation of scarce resources. So from an economist's perspective, everything's a scarce resource. You have a finite amount of this and a finite amount of that. So you want to maximize the benefit of that. And there's also something called maximizing utility value. And the utility value is anything that brings you value. To me, a bag of popcorn may have a utility value of 2, but to you, a bag of popcorn is worth 5. So the theory is when you want to allocate your scarce resource, I call that your on time. You have maybe 3 hours of on
Right.
time. So during that scarce resource time, you got to maximize your value. So the hardest thing is to sit down and say, what's important to me? What is the most important thing that I need to do? And then find a way to deal with that during your on time. And it's almost like you have to get yourself into a cycle.
Here's an easier way that I've read. If you wake up in the morning and you only have 16% phone battery and no charger, you have 16% phone battery to use all day. Who are you going to call? What are you going to do with that 16%?
Ghostbusters.
People can kind of understand the phone battery thing.
Oh yeah, I like that, because that's your phone
you
battery
got
is like the equivalent of your on time.
Yeah, or if you wake up and you have 50%, but most people don't get upset at 50%. 16%, they're like, oh my gosh, I got to spend time with my mom. Oh, okay, so that's what you want to do but people don't seem to understand that. Like they'll see me out in public and they're like, oh I couldn't even tell you had Parkinson's. It's like, because I work my ass off.
Yes.
You have no idea how much it's taking just to stand here. But I don't say that. I just say thank you.
Well, you made the comment
But they have
earlier
no idea.
about when you meet somebody, you say you have Parkinson's, they say you look great, you don't look like you have Parkinson's. And at first that used to bother me. But then I started to realize that people just don't know what to say. They don't know how to react. So they feel like they have to say something nice. So I've decided that when someone says something like that, I just accept it as the fact that they're just trying to be nice because they don't know what to say. And they don't want me to feel bad.
Well, 15 years in, and if somebody says I look good for having Parkinson's without explaining everything, I think it's a compliment.
Yeah, I mean,
that's awesome, great. I can tell you what I used to say with a nicer name. If somebody comes up, it used to be if somebody comes up to you, don't look. Oh yeah. If somebody comes up to you and says, you don't look like you have Parkinson's, it's like, we don't look like a rambling idiot, but look at you go. Insert rambling idiot and some other terms. You don't look like whatever. But or you can sit there and just say, what's Parkinson's look like, and start a dialogue about it. That's when the teaching moment comes in. Because most people don't realize that being under 50 and being diagnosed is only 2% of the population of the Parkinson's people. 2%.
Yeah.
Being under 40 is like 1%.
Did your parents always tell you were special?
No.
Okay.
My mom never said that.
You're a top 1%er.
Yeah. But being female, under 40, and then having because there's achinitic rigid and there's tremor dominant Parkinson's. Tremor dominant is 75% of the Parkinson's patients. Achinitic rigid, which is the oak tree, is 25%. So having the lesser known type under 40 being female, so no, I don't look like I have Parkinson's because I'm not a white male over 70, and I'm not shaking like I just had my foot on a live wire.
Yeah.
So I also use it for a chance to educate when it's appropriate. Most times, that's very, very seldom. Most times I just say thank you and walk away, but
yeah,
it's not a 70-year-old male disease.
No, and I call myself a tweener because I was like 56. Because I'm not young onset, but I'm not, I'm not AARP at the time.
Oh, AARP's for over 50.
Yeah, I know. Please don't remind me of that.
No. Oh my gosh. Best thing about AARP?
Free coffee.
My auto insurance. No, my auto insurance cut in half.
Oh, good.
Get an auto insurance quote to them. Yeah.
Well, I have, and okay, by the way, we usually play this game. How many tangents does Tom go on during the conversation? It's usually
12.
10 tangents, but I was in the service, so I tried looking at USAA for their insurance, and they were so much more expensive. I've been with State Farm for 40 years now, and they said it was funny. They go, well, we can't match the discounts. I said, why are you trying to bring me on as a new customer if you're going to say here's our rates and they're higher than what you're currently paying because we can't match the discounts? And why waste my time and why waste your time?
I was with the USA for 25 years or 20 years. 20 years. But AARP, they said that they can offer so much more economic policies because they don't insure 20-year-olds. They only insure people over 50.
Right, right, right. Because when you
Save
look
me
at
some money.
the concept of insurance is they're taking your risk and they're spreading it amongst a big pool. But with
Right.
you, the pool is those older. Now, depending on how old that pool, I mean, there's a lot of news at 6 where the 89-year-old guy drives into the front of the diner.
Well, the gas and the brake do, I mean, they kind of look the same. They're kind of close.
Yeah, but one's in the middle, one's on the right.
Well, maybe
It's funny. Someone said to me once, like, about the humor. They said most people don't get your humor, and I'm a little sarcastic at times. I said, well, that's because I don't use humor. Mine's more of an intellectual conversation that touches bases on humorous things. I said that the reason most, and I'm not being sarcastic with them on purpose. I said the reason most people don't get me is they're not as smart as I am. And so if you get a little bit more smarter, then maybe you and I can have a conversation. You would laugh, and then I just laugh at them. But that's just, I do that. You got to know your audience. And I did that to a friend of mine. So it was just me poking him.
Yeah, I've told my daughters quite often, it's like you have to play to your audience. If you're in school in front of the teachers, if you're out and
Yeah, that's
with
a
your
good word.
friends or whatever, but you always have to, you have to know who your audience is and play to them.
I used to
And
say
that
you got to
comes
know
back
your
to
market, which is the same thing as know your audience.
yeah.
Because you once like I like to go around, like I'm Italian, so I can call another Italian a wop or a guinea or whatever. But if you're Irish, you can't call an Italian a wop or a guinea because it's insulting. But a wop can call a wop a wop.
I've never heard those.
You never heard of wop or guinea?
Nope.
So those are Guinea. WAP was supposedly an acronym for without passport, but that wasn't the case. But when people came to Italy or from Italy to Ellis Island, they didn't have a passport, so they were just stamped called WAP, WOP. But that's not how it happened. But WAP and Dago and Guinea are just derogatory terms for Italians. It's like when an Italian
I
can
know.
call another Italian, you silly WAP, you stupid Dago. But if I'm also like, I can say to an Irish person, or an Irish person shouldn't be able to say to me, you're a wop or a guinea, because they're not the same, if that makes any sense.
Oh. Well, no, I mean, theoretically, yes. The terminology, I get it. But I had not heard that before. But, on theory, yeah. Like I can give you crap about being off your meds. I've been off my meds. That's just something we share.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the same thing. I wouldn't expect somebody that's completely healthy to come up and go, "Hey, how's it shaking?" Punch him in the throat.
My other joke was similar to that, was like if you're in a Parkinson's support, seminar or symposium, and at night you go to the bar and you see a woman there with slight tremors. It's like, hey, do you have Parkinson's, or are you just happy to see me?
I'm scratching an itch.
I'm just scratching an itch. But I find that with going, it's like people, they want to, I guess they just don't know how to react. And just like if I have someone if someone tells me they have cancer, my response is, oh, I'm sorry, I have no idea what you're going through, but if I could be of any help in any way possible, please let me know, and I'll be happy to help you any way I can. Something as simple as going grocery shopping for you.
That I think comes back to knowing your audience. I mean, if it's somebody you casually bump into in the store and they ask, are you okay because you're walking like with a limp or something, you're dragging
Oh,
your
right.
foot, you're being obvious. You can say, yeah, I'm fine. I just have a lot of times I just tell people I have a brain injury and they just leave me alone.
I find
But
I like
I'm horrible with names. Horrible names. I told everybody
same
for a
here.
long time I just had brain injury. I had a brain injury. People from high school, do you remember me back in high school? No, I had a brain injury. I'm like going, I have no idea. But back to the knowing your audience thing, it's if you do enter the conversation, you go, oh, it's just Parkinson's, and they go, oh, I'm so sorry. You owe each other nothing. This is just a random casual people or public thing. You don't owe them an explanation about Parkinson's. You don't even owe them anything about why you're limping or dragging your foot or you can't walk steady or anything else. You owe them nothing. If they reach out and they say, "Are you okay?" Because out of concern, I mean, then you enter in this dialogue. But if you're talking with like a friend that's more than an acquaintance, but not like your best friend, and they're like, "Are you all right?"
Yeah.
Then take the opportunity and bring them in and teach them and stuff. But people like, I had I was sitting outside my house. This is back in Iowa, and the snow truck plow came by, which we actually use those in Iowa. He
Because you
came
get
by, he turned around and came back because I was snow blowing my driveway. And he goes, "Do I know you?" "No." "Did you used to work for the city?" "Yeah." "Do you know Mark?"
oh God, that's funny.
"No, I don't know Mark." I said, "I haven't worked for a couple years." "Oh, really?" "Yeah, I have Parkinson's." "You don't look like you have Parkinson's." "Have you tried pot?"
Because I have some if you want to try it.
Yeah. This is a snowplow driver, and I'm like going, this is the weirdest thing has ever happened. But, you know, my whole thing at the symposium was about all of my responses to people in the public who said anything about Parkinson's, even up to current, like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," or "Oh, I didn't know," or "Oh, you look good," or "Wow, you look good," or "My Aunt Sarah had Parkinson's and we used to visit her until I was 6. So I know all about it," or "My husband's great aunt," everybody seems to know something about it.
Yeah,
All
and
of those
usually they're
things
great aunts or
change.
grandfathers.
Oh gosh, yeah. Everything changed when my acceptance of Parkinson's changed. I was so honked off for so many, and now mine was extended because I was psychosomatic
Oh,
for
right.
a good 6 years. So my grieving process had extended quite out. I almost had to grieve for it twice because I had it and then they took it away and then I had it again. And, but my attitude towards the general public and towards anybody in public has changed greatly once I was able to come to terms with the fact that this is my life.
And how long did it take you to reach that point? For me, it was
Once I
years.
knew, yeah, once I knew that it was me and not them, because we owe, as people in the general public, we owe each other nothing.
Sure. Yeah.
They don't owe me. I mean, a certain level, they do owe you respect, but they don't owe me, strength and comfort and all that kind of stuff that some people seem to be looking for, recognition, acceptance, and all that kind of stuff. But I think when I started figuring out that no matter what anybody said, and it made me mad, even if it was the right thing, it still made me mad. So it was obviously me that had the problem. I think it took a good couple of years to really dig
Yeah.
through, dig down. I actually had to let myself be able to cry about all my plans I had because I was a single parent. I had 3 daughters, and when the last one graduated, then I was going to take risks with my career.
Yeah.
As a single parent, you can't take risks with your career. You need a steady income, a guaranteed income,
Well, I know
and that
the
got taken
biggest
away.
the thing for me with employment that just set me back was I was working for a food distribution company, and I managed national accounts such as IHOPs and uh, Shake Shacks and Popeyes. I managed those. At
3 of my faves.
oh yeah, they're all good. But when I got diagnosed with Parkinson's, I told my president, who I knew him for 10 years at the time. I didn't really tell my president. I told my friend. And he came from behind his desk and said, "Well, as long as I have a job, you have a job," which I took to be I was very grateful for that. But about 4 years into it, the Parkinson's had gotten to the point, and with the stress of my job, because we were basically an extremely dysfunctional company. And by nature, we were dysfunctional because of what we do. And I used to say my job is to keep the train on the tracks, and I couldn't do that anymore. And the stress was killing me, so I had to step down. And then I was trying to redevelop myself or reinvent myself within the company because I couldn't really do what I used to be doing. It was like the president, VP of sales, and then myself. So I proposed to him that I would like to do this. I want to create a position. And I feel that if you agree with me, I'll take a 30% or 25 to 30% pay cut because the position I'm proposing isn't at this level, it's at this level. So then he goes, well, no, what we really like you to do, and he hands me a job or job description. It was an entry level position requiring a GED, and you were not salaried, you were hourly. And the hourly rate was like half, assuming I worked 40 hours a week, I was going to make less than half of what I was currently making.
Oh,
And I looked
wow.
at him and I'm like, really? I'm thinking to myself. And then I kind of felt this was coming up. So I previously had set up, like I pretty much set things up where I knew that the day I say I'm done, I can do this, this, and this. So I basically, when he made me that offer, I said, I got to go think about it. And it was like a Friday. So as I left his office, I went to HR and I gave him my laptop and my charger. And I had basically, before that day, I restored my laptop to its factory condition, just in case I had any personal things on there. And I gave it to her and said, I remember telling her, I'm leaving and I'm never coming back. And, it's funny, to this day, I don't know if I quit, got fired, medical leave. I still don't know how I actually was terminated. But
My last day, under the advice of an attorney, I worked for a power company back in Iowa. And there's only one. So it's Iowa,
everyone
Wisconsin,
knows who it
Minnesota.
was.
Yeah. So anyway, back in Iowa, I was working for the power company.
Iowa Power and
And
Light. I'm just making that up.
actually, that's what it used to be.
Oh, well, that's
IPL.
funny. Everything's power and light.
Yeah, it was IPL for a while. Then it merged with some Wisconsin and some Minnesota, and so it became this other thing. But
So then they call it Hey There Power and Light.
there you go. So I was advised by an attorney to not bring up Parkinson's, so that they couldn't use it against me. So I would verbally talk about problems or issues or whatever that I had, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so I kept it to myself for 6 years. My coworker, he's an awesome guy. His name was Mike. He's on the other side of the cubicle wall for me. And he would do up my shirt buttons every morning.
Oh, wow.
So I'd go over, hey, Mike, and he'd just do up my shirt buttons because I couldn't move my finger. I couldn't use my hands as much anymore. Not with the fine stuff. But see, DBS works for me. Yep, DBS works for me. But so anyway, so this is the 6-year stretch that we're going through. Is it, it's not Parkinson's, cortical basal degeneration, psychosomatic. We're going through all this stuff, right? And so I was at the end of my rope, and I had told my boss, I'm going to try and get this brain scan approved by insurance, because if they can actually lock in the Parkinson's, there's a new brain surgery out, the DBS, that I want to try, because it could, it could extend my career. My position was eliminated 3 business days later.
Wow.
Only one in my department, only one in my job classification.
So you technically weren't fired. Your position was eliminated, so you were let go.
My position was eliminated. And so I had like 10 minutes to gather my stuff, and HR walked me out of the building.
Oh, wow.
And I contacted some attorneys, and it's like, you don't have anything in writing that they knew. Everything was verbal because I was advised by an attorney to not put anything in writing. So there was nothing again. I was tied, and I had actually gotten another job, but I realized that the cognitive part of my brain for memory and stuff, at the power company, I was fine because I knew who to go to. I had already been there.
Right.
I worked there for almost 8 years. But I knew who to go to. I knew everywhere and how everything worked and stuff and all this other kind of thing. But starting with a brand new company, I wasn't going to be able to figure out a system to cover my butt. If I slipped, I wasn't going to have somebody do up right next to me to do up my shirt buttons. And, I wasn't going to know all this stuff. So then I decided, I applied for disability. They let me go on November 4th of 2015. I applied for SSDI. at
No, that's about the
about
same
a
time
month
I was
late.
diagnosed.
Yes. So November 4th, they let me go, and then so I had insurance to the end of December. Or no, to the end, yeah, to the end of December. So I called the University of Iowa. They got the DAT scan pushed through, and they got my diagnosis done. My re-diagnosis done immediately because I was losing my insurance. I applied for SSDI out of a back plan in case I couldn't get another job because I still had a child at home I needed to take care of.
Right.
And I wasn't expecting this. I didn't even know what the market was like or anything else like that. So I applied for that probably mid-December, and I was approved at the end of January.
I went on short. My family doctor. He knew him and I talked quite a bit. He said that short-term disability would be not an issue for me because he would just sign whatever he needs to sign because he truly felt that I should be on short-term disability. And then when short-term turned into long-term, I was initially denied a couple times. And the funny one was, I unfortunately was supposed to have back surgery, and I needed a neuropsych test because just a conversation like this, most people don't see me as someone who's not capable of working at a higher level. So they wanted to do a psych neuro test, and this is when COVID was happening. And I told them, I said, I'll do a psych neuro test. I know it's COVID. You can't do it like remotely. I have to be there. But my conditions are that I want to be in a room 10 feet apart. We both wear masks because I have to have back surgery in a couple of weeks. And if I have COVID, I can't have the back surgery. And they basically denied me because they said my requests were unrealistic. So
Oh my gosh.
then I had to go hire a law firm to sue their ass. And I did get a psych neuro test. And what was really interesting is I actually knew the doctor. There's not that many psych Parkinson's doctors where I live. And when I went in there, I explained to him, I said, listen, I want to have a conversation with you off the record, so to speak. I said, we know each other. We have a similar background. I consider you a friend in a sense, but what I do not want you to do is I don't want you to violate your oath of your medical oath. If you feel I'm not qualified, I'm not qualified. All I ask is that the expression baseball, if it's tie goes to the runner. If you're not quite sure, then just find in my favor. Well, at the end of it, he basically did. I didn't realize it was a one-day event from like 8 to 5. And for like 3 hours, he just sort of grilled me with questions and questions. Then I took like a little break, and then we went questions, and another break. And in hindsight, I realized he was basically asking me the same questions each group, but slightly different ways, so he could see how my response and stuff was either staying the same or decreasing. And at the end of it, he goes, "Well, don't worry about it. I'm gonna recommend that you are eligible, and because you've met all the requirements. I mean, I've got people qualified who had less symptoms than you." But the comment I made to him, which was kind of an interesting response, was, "Well, Doc, I still think the issue is most people that we're having, even though it's been like 10 hours we've been together, my conversation with you is I think it's a good conversation. We're answering it's a certain intellectual level, if you will." He goes, "Well, Tom, the issue with that is that you're so smart that even when you're not that smart, you're still smarter than most people." And I'm like looking, I said, "Dr. Short," I said, "either that's a compliment to me or an insult to the rest of the people." Because I said,
Yeah.
he goes, "Well, take it as a compliment." And I'm like, "Okay, I will, but I know I'm a smart person, but I never saw myself in that light." But ultimately I got approved, and someone actually called me from the insurance company and apologized for the way I was treated.
Nice. I've done 3 rounds of neuropsych. I
But,
was tested 3 times over the 15 years.
so I like
Because
it.
for DBS, you have to do neuropsych.
Yeah.
Because if you
So
have any signs of dementia, you're out.
the first year I didn't work between short-term disability, my accrued sick time, and my PTO. I was able to stretch, like I worked 2 weeks in January, but I was able to basically make the same amount of money for the entire year by not working, with all the unemployment and everything else I could add to the pot. And then
I got that. I lost all that. Because I
something
didn't have the short-term disability or long-term disability. That went out the window with my job. And when you apply for SSDI, you have to say you cannot work, so you cannot get unemployment because you're telling unemployment that you can work.
Oh, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. So luckily, when my position got cut, I got a pretty nice severance check. Then, so that carried us through for a while. Then we got taxes back, and that carried us because you have to be completely unemployed for
This is 6 months.
6 months and 6 calendar months, not from this date to this date. So when I was let go on November 4th, that added almost a whole another month. I had to go till June 1st.
Wow.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was very, very interesting.
I'd end up suing my employer, and I give the lawyer for the corporation credit because I would have done the same thing if I was in his position. He said, here's an offer. If you don't like it, sue us. It's probably going to take about 7 years. And by the time we drag it out, if you do win, any monies you get will probably go to your lawyer, and you'll probably end up being out of pocket money because of he said, so take it or just sue me. And I got to, in a sort of a macho respective way, I got to applaud him for that, because I mean, that's what he did was what he should have done as a lawyer representing his company. But so we ended up basically settling for it. He made an offer. I told my lawyer to counter with this other offer. And she's like, well, why would they want to do that? I said, because tell them that they don't counter. I have 2 kids who work for Google, and they have friends who work for Facebook and we're going to unleash a social media storm that they've probably never imagined in their life. So they have a choice: either do the right thing or suffer the consequences of the internet.
Yeah.
And I was actually kind of hoping they wouldn't settle, just because
Oh.
everyone's got that little spitefulness in them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I had lots of thoughts and stuff, but it turned out I had nothing. It was my word against theirs, and
Something
their
I tell
big
people,
power company.
based on your experience and the same experience I had, I never imagined that I'd be treated that way by my employer. So when I talk to people who are still working, I'm like, well, if you have a conversation with somebody and your performance level or Parkinson's or something along the line comes up, sometime that day, send an email back to that person, blind copy yourself, just saying, I want to recap our conversation. You might understand this. So even though you don't have a written dialogue, you can establish something. And I wish I just took it for granted that the fact that he offered me an entry-level position with a GED just floored me, just absolutely floored me. Because I'm like, I went from managing almost 40% of the company's sales to wanting to walk in the front door wearing blue jeans and punching a clock. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I can't do that. I cannot walk in that front door after what I did for 19 years, wearing jeans and punching the clock.
Oh yeah. See, I moved halfway across the country, so I don't know if I'd work retail back home. I work retail now out here, but like I said, it's to force the socialization and to force getting out there and in public and to force that kind of thing. I don't know if I do it back home.
Well, I play
Probably
pickleball
not.
now. Your boxing is my pickleball. And, I've been playing for about 6-7 months now. As I got to know everybody, I initially didn't want to tell them I had Parkinson's because I didn't want to be known as the guy with Parkinson's. But, because I almost felt like I'm 64 when I started playing, and I used to play tennis in high school, but that was a long, long time ago. And initially I wasn't that good. And I just felt like I didn't want to feel like I'm making an excuse. But as I got to know them, I started, letting them know that I have Parkinson's, because there were days where I'm a little lightheaded. I'm just very sore. And they would ask me what's going on. And then, so what really prompted is one guy who has a science background said, what's going on? You have something with you neurologically, I can tell. So I told him, and it was easy. It wasn't as near. I mean, he didn't judge me, which was very, very grateful. And so I knew that I fit in. And one day I made a really bad play, and someone on the other side said, hey, don't blame it on Parkinson's. It's not Parkinson's. You just suck. I'm like, okay. But that's like guys.
I love it.
That's like bantering.
I love it.
And when I heard that, I knew it was okay, because I just knew it was okay.
I haven't, and in the last couple of years now. I have no problems talking about it whatsoever. A lot of people go, they just look so confused.
Hey,
And if I have the time, and I'm sorry.
I want to interrupt you for a minute. We got a comment. So I take it that you should not let your employer know.
No, I did not let my employer know. And I had nothing to go back on. I was
Yeah.
under the advice that they could use it against me almost without it. Like,
Yeah.
don't promote her because of this without putting it in writing.
Yeah.
So
That's a very
they were
difficult
trying to
question.
protect me, but in protecting me, they took away all my legal rights because I could not prove that they knew anything because I had nothing in writing.
Yeah. And that's a very difficult question for me to answer yes or no. I honestly felt like I was talking to my friends and not
Mm-hmm.
the big corporate America. But in hindsight, I felt comfortable telling them, but I would probably still tell them, but I would document everything. Every conversation because for me, when I sued them it was really interesting because I finally got a copy of the discovery, which they were trying to present and to show that in fact supported and one of the things they said was that we supported Tom by allowing him to take a PTO day because he wanted to participate in the Parkinson's study. I'm like, no, I'm entitled to a PTO date regardless of what I want to do. That's not supporting Parkinson's. That's just giving me the right to a PTO date. And what more was interesting is that I did see an email chain where my boss had asked me a question, and at some point I saw that the president had sent a message back to him in HR saying, did he ever respond? And the answer was no. And the interesting thing was, I wish I had an opportunity to address it because the answer was no. Because if I send him an email, it takes him 1 business day to read the email, 2 business days to reply. By that time, I'm 3 days behind the curve. So I just called him up and said, this is what I'm doing. We had a conversation. Had I known at that moment what would happen in the future, I would have recapped that conversation in an email.
But, I think each individual circumstance, because there's so many rungs on the ladder.
Right.
In any given company, and those rungs will change and stuff like that. Hold on a second. What are you looking for, Kirsten?
Okay, this is the benefit of being live. Kristen, just leave your mother alone.
Oh, she's walking around looking at stuff. But and it's in the secretary, by the way. But because each company is different, each manager is different, all that kind of stuff. If you are still working and you have concerns, I would suggest most attorneys have free consultations.
Yeah.
Use them all.
Yeah.
Use them all. That was something I did earlier.
Attorney.
Yeah. So go see a couple of employment attorneys and get with one that you jive and tell them be honest with them, tell them what your situation is and get there. And employment laws change all the time. But one thing I did spend 4 years working for civil rights, and you cannot discriminate against disability if they can perform the job, but you have to prove that they are discriminating against your race, your age, your sex, which gender you identify as, etc. You have to prove it was because of that.
Yeah,
Not because of you were late to work constantly. They just don't like tall people, whatever.
Yeah,
so
generally,
you have to have the
if you're in
proof.
an at-will state, they can fire you for any reason that as long as it's not discrimination.
Right.
But where we benefit, though, is the Equal Opportunity Employment Commission. If you have a disability and they know it, they have to help you accommodate your disability. And that's what I tried to sue them under.
Well, they don't have to at any additional exaggerated expense. If
Right.
they've got to spend $5,000 to equip you with a desk and you're actually working for a mom and pop pizza joint, that's not going to work.
I agree with you there.
They don't. Well, that's part of the law, is that they have to accommodate you. If with reasonable accommodation you can achieve the job that is as described, then yes, they have to offer you the position if you're the most qualified. They can't say no because I have to put in a wheelchair person. They have to put in a wheelchair ramp.
Right.
But it has to be. So I just don't want everybody going out there going, I have Parkinson's, so you have to let me be an attorney. No, I don't. You also don't need to be a roofer. Please stay off the roofs.
Yeah.
You know, it has to be reasonable, and you have to be able to, with reasonable accommodation, be able to perform the job. And if you say yes, they cannot challenge that. There's a whole bunch I just studied on.
Yeah. Just a quick note, we usually go for about an hour, but
Yeah.
we can talk as long as you want to talk. I don't know what your
Oh,
schedule is like.
I had about another 15 minutes. She just went out to run an errand.
Okay.
But yeah, I told you we wouldn't have a problem filling an hour.
Well, no. See, for
But
me, it's like just tell me how much time. Like I said, I'll fill the void.
yeah, but that is one thing. If you are working, and you ask for accommodations, it's part of the SSDI too.
Hmm.
Your SSDI application, if you're under 65 and you're going to be applying for SSDI,
Which I
they're going
have.
to add, huh?
I have SSDI.
And I do as well. They ask what reasonable accommodations were provided to you at your last employers, several employers. To show that you actually have a disability, you should have been asking for accommodations at work, is their reasoning. If you didn't ask for any accommodations, were you really disabled? So it gets really sticky, really,
Right.
really, really sticky.
That's where
But
you need to speak to a lawyer.
yes, but here's something that people need to understand is that SSDI determines your disability based on an unmedicated state.
Hmm.
Unmedicated without assistance
So
state.
you turn your DBS off, and that's what they have to look at.
No, this is before that.
Oh,
This
okay,
is back
sure.
in
Well,
2015,
yeah.
2015, 2016. But they determine disability based on, like, if you can you walk without your walker? No, they base you off of, and I can assume a lot of reasons why they do this, but mainly, so I guess what I'm trying to say about like 9 different things, but if you're at work and you're afraid of losing your job, talk to an attorney. They will go back and see what kind of accommodations you've asked for. They will go back and see what you have in writing. They will go back, but if you're afraid of retaliation or being targeted, and you're a single parent or something, then I mean, you might have your hands tied. You might have to bite
Right.
the bullet. And I don't feel comfortable giving advice at this point, or specifically, because I
Right.
don't want to lead somebody astray.
Yeah, and that's I always try to preface sometimes these conversations by telling people we're just two normal people who happen to have Parkinson's. What we say isn't gospel, so to speak. Make sure you talk to a lawyer. Make sure you speak to your doctor. For
Yeah,
that
I'm not an
matter,
attorney. I just play one on TV.
yeah. My big thing is what I sometimes get frustrated is on some of the Parkinson's websites where you can Parkinson's Buddy website, for example, I'll make that up, where someone says, I take this medicine and this is what's happening to me. What do you think? And people give them their opinion. And I'm like jumping on in all caps saying, please don't, not that they don't mean well, but everyone is different. Everyone's individual. What happens to me isn't going to happen to you. Please, 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 like, call your doctor. Don't take advice from a complete stranger.
Oh my gosh. I've run into these people before. It's like, this is what you have to do. I've run into people that say that THC, you have to get,
Right.
marijuana. You have to do the THC. You do THC and walk your dog. And if you have a golden
At the
doodle,
same
that's,
time.
you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. Or your life will change if you ride a bicycle and you get so many RPMs per minute.
Yeah.
It's everybody's gonna, no, not everybody's going to. It
Like,
just honks my horn. It's like, I preface everything, this is what worked for me.
yeah.
This is my story, my life, and if it can benefit somebody else, I'm game. I will humiliate myself in public if I have to
Bingo.
to benefit somebody else.
I'm a lightning
Hell
rod for
yes.
stupidity. Just bring it on, baby. Just bring it on. I
Oh
mean,
God, yeah. I'll stand on
I
the
like to
stage in front of
say
300 strangers and turn off my DBS.
I have, like, I call it the 4 pillars of what I think is, and that is you should find yourself a great neurologist. I know that's easier said than done. A
And
great
then
movement disorder
that's one
specialist.
thing. One really important thing with that is I see Dr. Martello. He is not the best doctor for everybody. He's the best
Yeah.
doctor for me.
I say Dr. Savage, same thing.
Yeah. Find somebody you can communicate with and can talk your language and has your
Right.
best interest at heart, regardless of where they are or what they look like.
Yeah, so great doctor. Find a support group, as you mentioned, about the socialization aspect, someone you can talk to who understands. Start eating. If you're not eating healthier, start eating healthier. And I try not to get on a soapbox on this one, but start exercising. And what frustrates me is when someone will say any exercise is good exercise. I'm like, well, yes, but I want to say bullshit, because walking around the neighborhood is good. It's better than doing nothing. But as you say, boxing, you box because it raises your heart level to a certain rate for a certain amount of time.
Oh, and I get to punch it.
And you get to punch it. I like that too. I love,
Yeah,
I love the sound of a glove hitting the glove. Bam, bam,
Let me
bam.
see, which way do we gotta go? This way.
Yeah, you got some tats.
See my
Now,
boxing girl?
was these post Parkinson's tats or pre Parkinson's tats?
Oh no, wait. This is post. This is only 2 months old. That's me and my girls. Their names in Morse code. This is one of my favorite ones. This is Floyd the boxing frog.
So these are all after Parkinson's.
About 50. I can't tell you what I normally say about this one, but this is one of my favorite ones. It's a big chicken.
Oh, okay.
So it's a big male chicken, so you can
Starts
imagine
with a
what
C?
starts with a C.
Ends with a K?
Ends with a K, and it's one letter short of what you tell time with.
Oh, it's a cook.
Yes. But what were we talking about?
So on a complete separate note, tattoos, I'm just amazed by people with tattoos, because when I was younger, I'm 65, tattoos were like only with bikers and women of ill repute. Those are the only two people that had tattoos. But now it's such a common thing. And I look at the artwork, their body is covered with the artwork. And I'm thinking, why don't you just get like a paint by numbers kit? Wouldn't that be easier?
I only get things put on me that mean something to me and motivate me to continue pushing whatever.
Sure.
Like I had a couple tattoos when I was a single mom, it's to remind me of what, keep pushing to give your kids a better life than what you had, and all this kind of stuff. So they mean something to me. I don't just get pretties. Like this is one of her title on here says it won't win today on her banner.
I like that.
Because at boxing, I always say Parkinson's will win eventually, but it won't win today.
Yeah, I've heard that statement. That is really a cool statement.
Yeah, that's what I said at the conference. That's what I made everybody say at the conference. That was my two biggest fears. One, that I would stutter and nobody would be able to understand me because I'd be slurry. And two was that if I could get the whole room to say Parkinson's will win eventually, but it won't win today.
And you did that.
Together. I did it. They all said it. Everybody said it together. So we did it.
Yeah. So that was
that's why I got that one.
That's cool. When I first got diagnosed, I had a little band made that said perseverance and strength, and that was my chicken way of not getting a tattoo.
I'll set you up. I'm gonna get another tattoo and get one touched up. You should come with me. It's actually kind of like a deep muscle massage.
I can think of a few things I'd prefer to do with you other than a tattoo.
Root canal?
See, I think I'm a coward when it comes to tattoos. It's not that I don't see people with tattoos as different. I mean, part of it, like my older brother, I'll have to send you separately a photograph of my older brother. What was very interesting is he's a year and a half older than me. He went to bed one day when he was 16, and he woke up the next day like with Rocky Stallone's body. So picture remember Barry Gibbs from the Bee Gees with this hair?
Yes.
Picture Barry Gibbs on Rocky Stallone's body covered with tattoos. And he's retired now. He's 66 and a half. He was an iron steel worker in Chicago. And that's my older brother. And I'm like Richie Cunningham.
I got my first one on the dare, and they say you get one and you're addicted. And I don't have full sleeves or anything, but I do have plenty to make conversation
See, I'm more like the
about.
Klondike bar. What would you do for a Klondike bar? You're like, what would you do for a tattoo?
Oh yeah, I might actually like make out with somebody in public or something.
No, 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 no.
Uh,
It's just
oh gosh, for a free tattoo? Yeah, that's
my
public.
son sent me a picture of one of those henna tattoos that looked really real, and I didn't realize it, and I just simply replied back to him saying, "You're out of the will."
No.
Yeah. Well, he was toying with me, and I was toying back with him.
Oh, but that got his
Besides, on a
attention.
side note, both of my kids are out of the will because we paid for their college, and it's like I tell them, we gave you both like $1 million because of college. You have much more opportunity. So the goal is when the
You already
last of
spent
us,
you already
we're going
spent
to
their
spend every
inheritance.
dollar we have. That's the goal.
Yes, I would. I would. It's and that's one of the things too is I'm 15 years into Parkinson's. I've been a single parent, been a working single parent full time. I'm still living independently.
Hmm.
I still have to, probably the hardest thing I have to do is to make myself self get up and keep going every single day. It's like I shouldn't have to fight this hard to
Right.
function. And sometimes I just have to go, you know, but you do.
Was it
What
Nancy
are you gonna do?
Sinatra's
You gonna yell
"Tears of
and
a
scream and
Clown"?
kick? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's like tears of a clown. I'm crying on the inside, laughing on the
Well,
outside.
yelling, kicking, and screaming only does so good or so much. It
Yeah.
releases your feelings and stuff, but it doesn't make it go away.
Well, I try to
Nothing,
do.
nothing's
I
gonna
tried
make it go
little.
away.
I
Yeah.
tried little sayings. I think because I think as an individual or people, I think we remember concepts through more of images and such. But I like to keep it simple. Like you can choose to be happy or you can choose to be miserable. Either way, you have to make a choice. So if
Mhm.
you're going to choose, why don't you choose happiness? And when like with exercise, when people say it hurts, well, you're going to either have Parkinson's pain or you have exercise pain. The exercise pain will hopefully diminish as you get in better shape, and the Parkinson's pain will go away. So if you're going to have pain, why don't you choose the one that's going to actually help you in the long run? Just
Right.
trying to get people to think differently about things. Like I certainly think the glass is half empty, but I'm trying to fill it up as opposed to people trying to empty it.
See, I've heard it too, is that every person has two wolves who live inside of them. There's a good wolf and a bad wolf,
Hmm.
and they constantly fight. Who's gonna win? The good wolf or the bad wolf?
Right.
Whoever you feed.
Ooh, like that.
Yes.
See, I have the good angel and the bad angel and a friend named Peter. Whenever I call Peter and ask him what I should do, he goes, "You're just trying to get justification for doing the wrong thing. Just do the right thing." And he's my good angel. He's like the feeding the wolf. But I like
I
that. That was
try,
really
yeah, I try to put as much good out in the world. I figure most of life is a boomerang. Whatever you throw out there, you're going to get back.
right.
If you throw hatred and spew garbage out there, that's what is going to come back at you. If you
Yeah.
throw goodness out there and tolerance and acceptance, and that's what's going to come back to you.
Well, I want to end this on a Carol Burnett thing that you probably hopefully know. I'm so glad we had this time together.
Yes, tug tug. That's actually
So
my daughter's name is Kirsten, and nobody can ever say it. So I did that for a long time. It's like her name is, remember Carol Burnett? Kirsten.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I did that all the time for
ear.
years.
I
Yeah,
like that.
Kirsten.
My
Yeah.
name was Tom, so I would just say Tom.
Yeah.
Well,
Awesome.
as I said in the beginning, I want to say what a pleasure it was to speak with you. I hope you don't get tired of hearing the compliments, but what you did that meeting in front of those people is incredible. It shows your inner strength, and God, I don't only say God bless you, but because I don't know if He's going to bless you either way, but just say what you did. You have my utmost respect. That's all I
Oh,
can say.
thank you.
You're very welcome.
And I love what you're doing for the community with the podcast. I watched you try to teach people exercising and
Oh, was that funny?
recommending books to read
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So, I mean, thank you for everything you're putting out
Well,
there.
I'm kind of a micro guy. Like I got into a conversation with somebody once, and ultimately we became really good friends. But I'm like, he's like, well, I want to set up a little table at a flea market and maybe talk to 4 or 5 people. I'm like, that's a complete waste of your time. I mean, that's great that you want to do it, but why don't you take those 4 hours and try to find something that's more productive in reaching the mass audiences, such as this? I mean, the whole reason we started this was we want to be able to have a conversation, a real conversation. Like this is not scripted. We just start by talking. We see where the conversation goes. And we want to have that conversation where people can hear from people with Parkinson's. And it's, it's unbiased. It's like, it's uncut, it's raw. And that's what I really like.
Right. Well, let me tell you something that I wanted to hear for so long and never heard anybody say. Parkinson's sucks balls.
Well, I wouldn't quite say it's balls, but I agree with you.
It does. It's very, very difficult. It steals your cognitive, it steals your muscle, physical, your
right.
I mean, it's a thief.
So
it is an absolute thief, and it's absolutely completely 1000% unfair.
Right. By its own nature, it's a progressive neurological disease.
It's a progressive neurological thief.
Yeah, I like that. Because, as people, I know we can probably go on forever, but what really frustrates me is they still don't know what causes it. They don't know how to slow it down other than exercising. They don't know how to cure it. But I know people out there are spending hours and hundreds of millions of dollars trying to research and that's what's so frustrating about this disease is as much as we know, we don't know anything.
Right. Well, my point was, I got mad. I stayed mad a long time, but I still get mad to this day. It's not like I grieved having Parkinson's and I never get angry anymore. I still get angry, but I stopped myself and it's like, is this how I want to spend my 13% phone battery?
So I thought it was
but that
15.
was before that, wasn't it? Or for 16. So we're talking about, like, if most people wake up and you tell them they have 16% of their phone battery left, how are they going to use that phone for 16% for the whole day? That's what it's like having Parkinson's. You have 16% of an average person's, ability, or like, that's not ability is a bad word, but
it's kind of like if you're on a deserted
capacity.
island and you can bring one person, who would you bring?
Right.
Stephen Wright.
So yeah, but I still fight it. I can come off as an cheerful, all this other kind of stuff, and upbeat sort of person, but I still fight the really negative parts of the Parkinson's and what it's done to me and my body and my life and my children's life. It robbed me of my future. It robbed me of a whole bunch of stuff, and it really angers me. But now that I have grieved, it's a quicker process, like maybe minutes versus days, weeks, or months.
Sure, understand.
But it's okay to be mad. Just don't stay there. Don't take up residency in anger. Don't make it your new address. Don't stay there. Feel it, process it, and then move past it.
I like it.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'm going to go get a tattoo.
I dare you.
Okay, so have a wonderful day. And on the count of 3, we're going to say goodbye. 1, 2, 3. Bye, everyone.
Bye.